We all want to be heard. One of the things that I'm trying to work on is my executive presence and to be taken more seriously at work. Someone suggested that one thing that I could work on was to speak slower and to talk less. I was so intrigued by this feedback because it seemed counterintuitive that if I want to be heard more, that I should talk less. I used to think that the more you talked, the smarter you would appear. So whenever I had a chance to speak in a meeting, I would talk really fast and I would kind of ramble because I was trying to cram in as much stuff as possible while I had the floor and before someone could interrupt me. But as I started observing leaders that I admire, I noticed that in meetings, they don't talk that much. And when they do talk, they really slow down and take their time. They are so confident in their status that they don't need to rush because they know that when they talk, no one's going to interrupt them. And I realized that I should start to emulate that kind of self-confidence. I also noticed that generally, it's not the most talkative or the loudest people in a meeting that have the most insightful things to say. In fact, if you're talking all the time, then people might start to tune you out. But if you are thoughtful about when you choose to speak, your words carry that much more weight. Another reason that I used to always make it a point to speak up at every single meeting was because I felt that that was my only opportunity to get exposure to certain people. But I've come to realize that meetings are not the only opportunity that you have to make a good impression. If you have a question, then you can always email someone after the meeting, and that actually might be a great opportunity for you to introduce yourself to someone that you've been meeting to meet. Also, if you're rambling on and on at the end of a meeting that's already running over time, then people aren't going to remember that brilliant thing that you think you said because they're anxious to get on with their day. You'll make a much better impression if you respect people's time and save your questions for email or at the next meeting. Lastly, I found that if my motivation for speaking up at a meeting is to prove myself or to sound really smart, then that time is better spent listening instead. When you spend time in a meeting actively listening to people, then people will feel more connected to you, and they're much more inclined to give you that same care and attention when it's your turn to speak. So I encourage you to try this with me. At your next meeting, try to talk less and to speak more slowly and intentionally. You might be speaking less, but your active listening and your thoughtfully chosen words will say volumes about you.